What do you think about when you think of the road movie genre? It typically emphasizes freedom in one's self-discovery. Films like Easy Rider, Y Tu Mama Tambien, and Thelma and Louise are about freedom on the open road and the endless possibilities that await you. Characters can become who they truly want to be and leave their past behind. We can all relate to wanting to leave where we're from in search of some greater meaning, or find a place where we truly belong. However, one road film goes against all these archetypes that usually define the genre: Alice in the Cities. While a film about traveling on the road, it's very different for a number of reasons. I first discovered Alice in the Cities as a junior in college while taking a film class where we'd watch a movie from a different country each week. For the Germany week, my professor chose this film, and I honestly was a bit hesitant. After a long and tiring day, sitting down for a black and white German film didn't sound like the ideal way to end my day. But quite quickly I became enamored with the film and its easygoing nature. I found the performances and relationship at the center of the film to be very compelling, and ended up really enjoying myself. Then when choosing what to write about for a final project, I found myself drawn back to this film, and upon analyzing it, I realized just how deep and layered it truly is. Because while on the surface it's a fairly standard film, there's much more going on under the surface than meets the eye.
Ich möchte ein Foto von dir machen. Damit du wenigstens weißt, wie du aussiehst.
Alice in the Cities is the first film in acclaimed German director Wim Wenders' Road trilogy, with all three films tackling similar subject matter. The story follows Philip, our protagonist, who is a German writer traveling the country but is struggling to write anything, only taking pictures of his surroundings. We meet him at the end of his journey as he heads to New York to fly home, unsatisfied with his experience. But while at the hotel, he meets a German mother and daughter, Lisa and Alice, who he strikes up a friendship with. The mother shockingly leaves, and Philip is forced to take Alice with him back home and drop her with her grandmother. Philip is rightfully frustrated by this, but learns to appreciate Alice and what she represents. As the film progresses, there becomes detours in the way of them getting to Alice's grandmother, and the two form an unlikely bond, changing Philip for the better. But why did Philip need to change in the first place? What's been eating away at him? While there are some vague answers we can pull at, it's never actually stated, with all of it being subtext for a larger theme, and because the film is pretty light on plot, being more interested in mood and tone. Wenders even stated as much on the commentary track, saying he threw his script away after the first few days, figuring out the movie as he went along and writing the scenes the night before. So while Alice in the Cities is very much a road film, it actually doubles as a reactionary film to World War II, more specifically, the trauma of a whole generation of German citizens born during and after World War II, trying to overcome the atrocities of their previous generation's involvement in the Nazi Party. Now I know that's a lot, but let me explain. Wenders is of German descent and was born months before the end of World War II. He grew up in a Germany struggling to come to terms with the atrocities that were allowed at the hands of his ancestors. His parents and much of his family were in Germany during the Nazi occupation. As Wenders is quoted saying by Catherine Byrne Kruger's article, The Long Dusty Highway, the German post-war generation in the road films of Wim Wenders. Wenders says, "Behind us was a black hole, so everybody looked straight ahead for all they were worth. Busied themselves with reconstruction, working for the miracle, and that economic miracle, it seems to me now, couldn't have been achieved without a colossal effort of oblivion." While it may not be obvious at first, the choice that Philip makes throughout the film are directly influenced by his German roots. Alice in the Cities is not a film about discovering yourself, but about rediscovering yourself. As a German, Philip struggles to identify as one because of the atrocities of the Nazi Party. Wenders himself says how he resented the way German parents brought up their children, as they attempted to erase the last 10 years from their minds and pretended that everything was okay. By traveling to America, he attempts to find a new identity, but cannot. Unlike what most road films would tell us, the cities aren't all beautiful, and he isn't connecting with the landscapes and people the way he thought he would. Wenders even says on the commentary track that when he got to America, he realized it all looked the same. It's only when he meets Alice, a young German girl in New York City, that he's able to come to terms with the new German identity. Alice represents this new generation of Germans who are completely removed from the Nazis. The road can be a good escape, but in the end, confronting your past is the only way to move forward. Alice in the Cities opens with a shot of an airplane flying overhead. Immediately, the theme of travel is presented. We don't know where we are, but we understand the importance of travel. The camera pans down to reveal our protagonist Philip sitting alone on a beach. Just like the road films, beaches themselves can represent their own kind of freedom. Many films use beaches to represent heaven or a spiritual space. Beaches are often a sense of relief for characters, but here the beach is cold and desolate. It's a sad and lonely place and is juxtaposed by Philip's song about being with a woman. This idea is further emphasized by the choice to shoot this film on black and white 16mm film. Wenders had said the choice to shoot in black and white was more out of necessity, but it also highlights the loneliness of the road. While the cinematography by Robert Mueller is exquisite, we don't get to see any of the bright or exciting colors. Instead, the black and white film forces the viewer to look at the geography for what it truly is. Technology plays a significant role in the film, as it always seems to fail Philip. In the first scene of the film, when Philip is on the beach, he takes a picture with his Polaroid. He continuously takes pictures of his travels throughout the film, but admits to himself while driving that it never shows you what you saw. Early in the film, Philip tells an old flame how his journey was a disaster, and America is one dull town after the next. We are shown America through the lens of a foreigner, a man who wants to embrace American culture, but is struggling to do so. Instead of focusing on the beautiful landscapes and scenery, writer and director Wim Wenders decides to turn his attention towards the more gritty and gross parts of America. We see motels, car dealerships, radio towers, and the same looking scenery again and again. The film is emphasizing the lackluster of the road rather than romanticizing it. He continues by saying, "Shoot down everything you can't stand," which could be in reference to the Third Reich's ideology of killing people that don't fit into their beliefs. The pictures he takes don't seem to represent what his eyes see. The scene could also have a dual purpose, as Wenders has stated his distrust with beautiful and thoughtfully created images following World War II. Stated in Kruger's article, she says, Wenders warns against tightly controlled, made-to-be-beautiful images when he says, "The better something looks in a film, the more wary you ought to be. You might be deceived." He counters this danger of deception through spontaneity and a focus on ordinary images. Just like Philip, Wenders addresses the abuse of imagery by critiquing it and pointing out its inherent flaws. Still, Philip cannot let go of his camera. When asked to sell it, he refuses. Instead of writing about America like he was told to, he just decides to take pictures. And when talking to Angela, an old flame in New York City, she tells him, "You take photos because it's evidence that it was you who saw these things." Philip needs proof that what he's seeing is reality. Also, let's just take a second to appreciate this scene, because it's maybe my favorite in the whole movie. What strikes me about this scene is all the unspoken chemistry between these two. We can tell through their body language that they have so much history between them, and that Philip has lived a life we will never fully understand. I love how Angela is able to take down Philip so quickly and efficiently. She is able to see right through him. I could watch a whole movie about Angela. I feel like even from this scene alone, she feels so painfully lived in. Wenders said that Ida, the actress that plays her, actually wrote all her own dialogue. Philip in the scene is also great, and I love how he just starts undressing, assuming he'll be able to stay the night, and has to be told off by Ida. And I think the lines that she says at the end are quite beautiful.
Ich kann dir nicht helfen. Trösten möchte ich dich schon.
Das verstehe ich jetzt aber nicht.
Ich weiß auch nicht, wie man leben soll. Mir hat's auch keiner gezeigt.
But back to the technology. Philip's distrust with technology isn't just with the camera. Early on in the film, it's established that Philip has a deep hatred for advertisement. While listening to a song on the radio, an ad comes up and he screams at the radio. Later that night in a motel, he breaks the television while watching multiple ads. Later in the film, while in Lisa and Alice's hotel room, he explains to Lisa his hatred for TV and why it's barbaric, saying, "Not only do ads chop up the shows themselves become ads for the status quo. These images all come with the same vicious contempt. They all want something from you." To Philip, the TV is just another form of propaganda, just disguised as entertainment. The television and what he believes it stands for is everything he tried to escape when he left Germany. During World War II, the Nazis used technology, film, and radio for mass propaganda. This instrument of art was used to manipulate an entire country. Philip feels distrust with technology for what it's caused him and his people. By traveling and using technology, he tries to come to terms with it, but struggles initially to do so. Slowly, he is able to wrestle with what it means in a post-war world. When asked about the meaning of technology in the film, Wenders himself said, "I speak for everyone who in recent years, after a long drought, has started once again to produce images and sounds in a country which has an unceasing distrust in images and sounds that tell its story, which for this reason has for 30 years soaked up all foreign images, just as long as they have taken its mind off itself. I do not believe there is anywhere else where people have suffered such a loss of confidence in images of their own stories and myths as we have. We, the directors of the new cinema, have felt this loss most keenly. There is good reason for this distrust, because never before, in no other country, have images and language been abused so unscrupulously as here. Never before, and nowhere else, have they been debased so deeply as vehicles to transmit lies." Wenders also stated in the commentary track how he really was taken aback by the amount of ads on American TV, and how European TV at the time was quite different. Another little fun fact was that all the shows they were watching were really on TV when they shot this. Wenders would look them up in the TV guide before shooting to pick the right thing. The black and white film itself can also be seen as a critique of the past of German film. Wenders' use of black and white allows him to take back the art form in which the Nazis abused. Nazi films were in black and white, so by choosing to use black and white himself, he is refusing to let Nazi Germany taint it. He also does this by giving the film a raw and authentic feeling, allowing mistakes to exist within the film. This is in contrast to propaganda films that are incredibly controlled, something he's fearful of. People and sounds might accidentally interrupt the flow of the scene, but it all adds to the mise-en-scène. An example is when a bird flies in and out of his shot while on top of the Empire State Building. He doesn't want to trick viewers, he wants to create an authentic experience. And understanding this added layer enhances the viewing experience significantly. Suddenly, every shot has so much more meaning. America and American imagery as a whole holds a unique place in this film. While at first it might seem that this film is anti-American, it's actually quite the opposite. While the film might be about embracing one's own culture, Wenders understands the importance of other cultures as well. Philip may criticize America for its small, boring towns, but Wenders and cinematographer Robert Mueller put great effort into showing its beauty as well. When Philip is in Queens, we get a great panning shot of the cheers and organs from Shea Stadium, where the New York Mets used to play. As a lifelong Mets fan, this immediately made the movie greater for me. We get multiple shots of the New York City skyline, highlighting the beauty of the modern metropolis. Unlike the Nazis that shunned away other cultures, Philip tries to embrace them and accept them as his own. What Philip doesn't realize, at least at the beginning of the film, is that he can appreciate America while still being a German. In the first act of the film, Philip tells Angela that it was a horrible journey. It all looked the same. I became estranged from myself. His old flame notes that you don't have to travel across America for that. That happens when you lose all sense of your own self. She's expressing how America didn't cause Philip pain. Germany caused that. What's upsetting to Philip is that America didn't fix it. As a German, Philip slowly understands that he can have a national identity that doesn't involve the Nazis. No longer do images and sounds have to be used with malicious intent. Only through Alice is he able to achieve this. Alice herself represents the new generation being raised that is separated from World War II. Alice is curious, adventurous, and speaks her mind. She is unapologetically herself. Yella, the actress that plays her, does an exceptional job here. For such a young girl, she's able to express so much. Her and Philip are constantly clashing heads, and the way they see the world is quite different from one another. It's no coincidence that Philip meets Alice right before he's supposed to head back to Germany. Once Philip meets Alice and Lisa, the city all of a sudden doesn't feel so lonely anymore. Philip has an anchor. Even if he barely knows Alice, it allows him to feel connected to his past. Alice gives him a purpose he didn't realize he needed. Philip's journey through Germany with Alice is a rediscovery of the country for him. He's able to see Germany through the eyes of Alice. She's the one who dictates where they go. The Germany that Wenders remembers is one of serious life. Wenders is quoted saying, "Growing up in the 1950s, I experienced the German labor of repression, or sublimation, primarily as an absence of pleasure, of the senses, or simply of joy. I grew up in an atmosphere that was obsessed with life as a serious business." The Germany that Philip returns to with Alice is one where he can go to a Chuck Berry concert, listen to American music in a cafe, and lay in the sun with Alice and meet a pretty girl. His travels through Germany allow him to free himself from the old identity of Germany and embrace the new one, Much of what our main characters experience go against the ideals of the old generation. Lisa is an incredibly casual mother. She allows a stranger to bring her child to Germany. Lisa is moving around constantly, and we learn is currently breaking up with a man who isn't Alice's real father. The characters in Alice in the Cities feel real and lived in, not like idealistic concepts. During a scene where Philip is looking for Alice's grandmother, they decide to stay in a hotel room. Alice asks Philip to tell her a story, to which he yells at her. Alice is shocked and frightened and begins to cry. Philip, realizing his mistake, goes and reconsiders what he's just done. He was so used to the rigid and cruel lifestyle of post-war Germany, but he's able to free himself of that mindset and connect with Alice on a human level. Wenders creates a more authentic Germany, not one filled with Nazi mentalities, but one with flawed individuals. America's meaning for Philip shifts throughout the film. Instead of serving as an escape from his life, it serves as a way to enjoy life and have fun. The mixing of American culture with Germany shows how this cultural shift has begun and that a new Germany is ahead. Through Alice in the Cities, Wenders is able to articulate that you simply cannot just abandon your past and move on. America and the open road might be fun and idealistic, but it won't give you a new purpose and identity. The only way to come to terms with your past is to deal with it head on. Nazi Germany took away and ruined sounds, images, film, and music for Philip, just like it did for Wenders. And through Alice, Philip is finally able to see that there is hope for the future. In Alice in the Cities, it's not the road away from home that gives Philip freedom, it's the road back home. Alice left Philip a changed man. No longer is he angry and distrusting. Philip has finally found happiness and purpose as a German again. Hey guys, thanks for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video. If you've seen the movie before, leave in the comments what you think of it. And if you have any recommendations for a movie you'd like me to cover in the future, please let me know. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.